Praise Yahweh. Praise Yahweh. Dear Heavenly Father, Yahweh, allow our minds to be opened by your Spirit, O Father. Allow our hearts to be nourished and allow our souls, O Father, to be sustained. Continue to lead us, O Father, into your purpose. Continue to guide us, O Father, and guide the knowledge that we understand, the concepts that we believe in, and the mindset that we go out every day within. Allow it to take shape in your form, O Father. And as we go into this Torah study of Bemidbar chapter 27, I pray that the contents we find within this chapter, we apply it as soon as we can. And, oh Father, you would continue to open our minds. You would continue to open up the Torah for our minds and impress every word you have into our inward parts, oh Father. Please continue to go before us now and forevermore, I pray. And I pray you would bless this, the Torah study. In Yeshua's name I pray. Amen. So we begin with a reading of Bemidbar chapter 27. Then came the daughter of Selophad, son of Hefer, son of Gilad, and son of Machir, son of Manashe, from the clans of Manashe, son of Joseph. And these were the names of his daughters: Mala, Noah, and Hogla, and Micah, and Tirzah. And they stood before Moshe, and before Eleazar the priest, and before the leaders and all the congregation, by the doorway of the tent of appointment, saying, Our father died in the wilderness, yet he was not in the company of those who were met together against Yahweh, in company with Korah, and he died in his own sin, and he had no sons. Why should the name of our fathers be removed from among his clan? Because he had no sons? Give us a possession among the brothers of our father. Moshe then brought their case before Yahweh. And Yahweh spoke to Moshe, saying, The daughters of Selophad, speak what is right. You should certainly give them a possession of inheritance among their father's brothers, and cause the inheritance of their father to pass to them. And speak to the children of Israel, saying, When a man dies and has no son, then you shall cause his inheritance to pass to his daughters. And if he has no daughter, then you shall give his inheritance to his brothers. And if he has no brothers, then you shall give his inheritance to his father's brothers. And if his father has no brothers, then you shall give his inheritance to the nearest relative in his clan, and he shall possess it. And it shall be to the children of Israel a law of right ruling, as Yahweh commanded Moshe. And Yahweh said to Moshe, Go up into the Mount Abarim, and see the land which I have given to the children of Israel. And when you have seen it, you also shall be gathered to your people, as Aaron, your brother, was gathered. Because you rebelled against my mouth in the wilderness of sin, in the strife of the congregation, to set me apart at the waters before their eyes. These were the waters of Meribah, at Kadesh, in the wilderness of sin. And Moshe spoke to Yahweh, saying, Let Yahweh, the Elohim of the spirits of all flesh, appoint a man over the congregation, who goes out before them and comes in before them, who leads them out and brings them in, so that the congregation of Yahweh be not like sheep without a shepherd. And Yahweh said to Moshe, Take Yehoshua, son of Nun, with you, a man in whom is the Spirit, and you shall lay your hand on him, and shall set him before Eleazar the priest, and before all the congregation, and give him command before their eyes, and shall put some of your esteem upon him, so that all the congregation of the children of Israel obey him. And he is to stand before Eleazar the priest, who shall inquire before Yahweh for him by the right ruling of the Urim. At his words they go out, and at his word they come in, both he and all the children of Israel with him. all the congregation. And Moshe did as Yahweh commanded, and took Yehoshua and set him before Eleazar the priest, and before all the congregation, and laid his hands on him, and commissioned him, as Yahweh commanded, by the hand of Moshe. This concludes the reading of Bemidbar chapter 27. It's a very short chapter, but it's also a very good chapter. I think it holds a lot of key lessons, not many, but ones that are very, very important. It teaches about fairness, leadership, and justice. Bemidbar chapter 27 covers the case of Selophad's daughters who fight for their inheritance rights, and the appointment of Yehoshua as Moshe's successor. These show just how fair Elohim is, and not only how fair, how there's always adjusting going on to the situation. And we'll go into what exactly is adjusted and what situation requires an adjustment. So let's start with the daughters of Selophad fighting for their rights. 5 sisters, Makla, Noah, Chogla, Mika, and Tirzah, asked Moshe for their father's inheritance because he had no sons. Even though the inheritance would usually go to the sons, instead of dismissing them, though, Moshe asks Elohim what to do. This right here is a key lesson. Moshe didn't use his own foresight or his own insight. He did what a leader of the children of Israel should do, and anybody I think should do. He went directly to Elohim and asked, what should we be doing with this? And especially since it's something that Elohim hadn't stated in the Torah already. There wasn't a law made for this yet. And so Moshe asks Elohim what to do. Elohim agrees with the sisters and make an adjustment to the current law of inheritance so that the daughters can inherit if there is no son. And a lot of people sometimes think that this was a change in the law, but it was not a change. It was just an adjustment because the situation had not been yet seen before. And so there was never a need for this adjustment. But now that it has come up, we can see that the foresight that Elohim has and the omnipotence that he uses when he creates a plan is so great that it can also account for things that didn't even show itself at the first initial phase of the plan. And so we see here it's adjusted so that if there's a man who has no sons, or let's say all of his sons before they were married were killed, we can see that it would go to the daughter of that father. And I think another thing that can be taken out of this is just how respectful the sisters were, because a lot of people think that when they have a request, they brood with it. You have a request that it must be met with a yes, but it doesn't always have to be met with a yes. And you have to realize that whilst coming to asking for something. And I think the way that came about it was perfect. They're not asking Moshe to give something to them right now. I feel unfair. Moshe, give me this. I'm mad. Everyone has something. I want this right now. No, we don't want our father to be lost, his name to be lost. We want his legacy to be carried on. And we also would like your advice on this because we don't know what to do. I think the way you go about things decides on the result of how you go about it or what you wanted. If they hadn't been respectful, if they came about it a complete different way, they would have a different result. And so key is to be confident inside asking the questions you don't understand, but to also be conscious to make sure that you're asking them inside the proper way so that you get the proper help. as we see they received. And then we go on to passing leadership from Moshe to Yehoshua. Moshe knows now he won't enter the promised land. And so he asks Elohim to choose a new leader for Israel. Elohim selects Yehoshua. And this is because he has a strong connection to Elohim. And this shows that leadership isn't just chosen by the physical traits you have, by the skills you may have mentally. It's also about the connection you have. And we see Yehoshua, who was also sent as a spy, were one of the only ones that comes back with news not toxic to the community, with news that's not trying to demean the spirit of those who are about to claim this land. And so Yehoshua always had a strong faith. And inside the same way, I think him being chosen showed that he was on a different path. The next step up. Sometimes, if you choose a person to be a leader, you would hope that they have full belief, confidence inside their beliefs, and they can move with it, carrying the responsibility that they have. And if you don't have someone who are confident of their beliefs, have reached the limitations of doubt to come out unscathed or scathed, but to come out experienced and confident inside what they believe and able to tell people why they believe this way and why others should do this, then you have someone who can lead people, because you don't have someone who's just going to switch up in 2 years and say, maybe this wasn't right. No, what he's doing right now isn't from his own will. It's from Elohim. And it'll continue to be that way because of the path he's on. And I say the path he's on is different, but it doesn't mean that others can't attain that path either. It just means that you have to work hard as well to make sure your beliefs is something that you could be confident in, and your beliefs are structured around Elohim's sustenance, protection, and provisions in your life. So I like how Moshe transitioned this role to Yehoshua. It was public. It wasn't something private. It wasn't something that went under the table. It also wasn't something that brought shame to Moshe, or people looked at with disdain that Moshe was stepping down from his position. But I think the greater part is the fact that Moshe publicized this. He didn't want people to disrespect Yehoshua. He wanted them to look at Yehoshua the same way they looked at Moshe. It may be different bodies, it may be different names, but respect you give me should be the same as you give him, because we're both going to be speaking Yahweh's word and Yahweh's word only. And I like how he did it, because nowadays we see in politics, whenever there's a change in regime or change in political stance, there's elections and it's all publicized, and you have different sides and different debates, all for the purpose of accepting who's going to come and lead now. And we see this exactly is being done without these debates, because there's no debate, there's no vote. Elohim chose his person. And to continue, or to, as it said inside the scripture, give his esteem to Yehoshua, son of Nun. I really like how he did this publicly. He made sure that everyone knew this was not someone you messed with. You look at Yehoshua just as you look at me. And this was, I think, a cornerstone in them recognizing Yehoshua as their new leader and building trust within the community. And so when I read this entire chapter, I saw two topics. The topics of Zelophad's daughters being respectful to claim their father's inheritance so his legacy could continue, and the transitioning of roles from Moshe to Yahushua, son of Nun. And I think the lessons that I got from this was fairness. Torah adjusts to the situation that hadn't been brought up or seen as yet. But for those adjustments to be made, you need someone who is speaking directly to Elohim or who's hearing directly from Elohim. Moshe, as soon as he was asked, went and he spoke to Elohim. He didn't say, I don't know about that. Maybe you should, maybe you shouldn't get inheritance. I don't know, just a thought. No, he didn't do that. He didn't use his own personal preference. He put that to the side and he allowed Elohim to speak through him. And that's control. And so I think on Moshe's side, that's very good, but it's also something that we can learn a lesson from. No matter how emotional we feel inside a situation, allow Elohim to be the deciding factor. Calm down, slow down, ask Elohim, and then be confident inside that decision, knowing that you made the right choice. You made the right choice. Elohim's choice after that is always going to be right, but you giving it to him was the right choice. I'd also like to make a keynote. We see the traits that Elohim takes for the leaders aren't always physical traits. He had a spiritual connection. Joshua had a spiritual connection with Elohim. And we also see that the way that the congregation is structured isn't just one person's lead. We have a spiritual leader, and we have almost a militant, strategical, logistical leader that is leading at the forefront, whilst the spiritual leader continues to ground the community inside the concepts that they believe in and assure that any type of question, concern is dealt with. And then you have under them, or not even under them, but you still have another section of leadership as well. You have the community leaders, where there's leaders of the different houses, and then the leaders of the families in those houses. And so not one person had to just do everything themselves, but by inside this small example, Moshe properly giving some of his esteem to Yehoshua and assuring that people saw him as a leader. The other leaders, when they listen to Yehoshua and they gain a task, they're going to do it as if they got it from Moshe. And that is how the system continues to run without any fall, without any trips, and without any shortcomings. That's something that we should all recognize. There was a spiritual part and a physical part, but at the same time, when that physical part was chosen, when the logistical leader was chosen, it wasn't chosen just by his physical traits. And so if you think that, hey, I can kill a lion, that'll make me a good leader, well, it'll make you a strong hunter. But what makes you a good leader is your trust and your never-ending confidence that you have to continue reinforcing into Elohim. And I'd say the last lesson that was inside this is respectfulness works. If you have a request, especially if it's something you don't know, express it properly so that the result is a result that helps you versus, well, it doesn't help you. And we could see that by Zelophad's daughters. If it came about it very wrongly, Moshe could have just said no straight up and deferred their dreams. And what are you going to say about it? So make sure you come about things in the proper manner. Be respectful, but also be confident. Don't hide behind fear. Don't let these things bottle up. Be clear so that you can sleep with peace. That's a little saying that I have. So with that, I'd like to open the floor now for any comments and questions on Bemidbar chapter 27.
Praise Yahweh, praise Yahweh, Shemash, and thank you for a wonderful study once again. And you are right. This is a short chapter, but it's so full of impact. And as you were unraveling in the order of the chapter, talking about Zelophad's daughters, and brothers and sisters on the platform, please feel free to indicate by raising up the hand icon if you have a question or comment that you want to give in. But yes, with Zelophad's daughters, comparing their attitudes to feminism of today, there is a vast difference. One, what they did, what I saw, what Yah showed me, and what they did, they acted in a virtuous manner. First of all, they weren't selfish about it. Oh, I'm going to get mine, or I'm getting left out. We want to preserve our father's name in the clan, and he should not be left out of being named in the tribe of Manashe with his territory and his possession just because he had no sons. And they did it, and like you said, not holding back or being afraid, and neither coming forward with attitude and aggression, like modern feminists. Yeah. If they were feminists, they would have challenged Moshe right there and then. Okay? Because that's what feminists do. They believe that they can do the same thing that a man can do and still be a woman, but they want to be a man at the same time. Very confusing. And we know that gender confusion is big, but back to the story. Very good. They made sure that their father's name continued. And we're going to find that in the story that proceeds that Yah granted them their father's possessions, and in order for it to remain in the tribe of Manashe, they had to actually marry within the tribe of Manashe so that their allotment did not go out. And you used the word adjustment and what Yahweh did. And I understand exactly what you're saying. I see it as more an extension of the same thing because there was no contradiction to what was already said. What he did was he gave the redemption process for the next of kin, which says if there are no sons, then the daughters are next of kin. And then it goes on to other rights of redemption. And we see the rights of redemption throughout our people's history, that it is always the next of kin. And he's showing that at the same time as he does not approve of feminism, he does not approve of chauvinism either. So let these women be respected. They will maintain their father's possession. When they marry into the tribe of when the husbands from the tribe of Manashe come, they will have their husband's possession and their father's possession to come together with in that house. Everything remains within the tribe and within the clan. So it's wise extension. And sometimes we think that we see the fullness of an instruction that Yah gives. Not until he opens up that instruction and we see that, wow, this embraces all of this in this one instruction. But it does not change the instruction, but rather it's a consistent extension. So I really like that the fact that you brought that out. And while we're waiting for somebody else to come in on the platform with a question or comment, there we go. Successor Eliyahu.
Praise Yah, praise Yah.
Praise Yah.
Very interesting insights into this chapter, Shemash AriYah. And as you were unpacking the chapter, I noticed that many times you use the words faith and belief. And it got me thinking something about these daughters of Zelophad. Very similar to what Shemash AriYah just said. But I think if I repeat it in the way I was seeing it, we would get a different perspective, especially in terms of what motivated them. Yes, we can see at a glance that they were concerned about keeping their father's inheritance. But there's a bigger picture. You remember, the promise was that Israel will inherit the land. Israel would inherit the land, not a portion of Israel. And so, with their father gone from the scene and no sons left, there was a risk that a portion of Israel will not inherit the land. So what drove them? Was it their need for a portion, their need to be represented? While we would say very quickly, yes, there is something else that I saw driving them, the very thing that you were discussing. But I'm not sure that I heard you specifically related to them in this way, in the sense that because of the promise that was made before, and because of their knowledge of that promise, they had a strong faith. That's the word that you would have used initially. And then the word belief is basically the same thing. They could be used synonymously. So they had a strong belief that when Yahweh made that promise that Israel would inherit the land, the promised land, the land of Canaan, that's exactly what he meant. So that whether they were sons or daughters, it was Yahweh's intention that all Israel inherit the land. And so they now were simply exercising their faith. And I like how Shemash AriYah said, they were not feminists, but they were simply representing to our women today how you can be a woman of faith, a woman of belief, exercising that faith and going after the things that Yahweh has promised us. So where do we see ourselves today with respect to that? Yahweh, as he promised physical Canaan to those people, he promised the promised land, the new Jerusalem, eternal life to all Israel. And all Israel means every single individual who is called by his name, who accepts him as creator, who accepts his son, his being as our sacrifice, as our redeemer, and all those who remain obedient to the Torah and persevere to the end, all those make up Israel, and all those will inherit the land. And I believe that it would be a good thing if we exercise that same faith, that same belief that those daughters had then to our situation now, and we shall ensure that we live in such a way that we become the inheritors of that promised land that Yahushua has gone to prepare for us. Just thought of sharing that thought. And just to let you know, everybody, I'll be leaving the platform pretty soon. And so if you see me drop out, it's because I have a very important thing to take care of. Praise you.
Praise Yahweh and
Praise Yahweh.
Torah for that insight. That was amazing. I just wanted, when you were saying that, I also wanted to just add something in there, possibly before Cohen speaks on that. And I like that these women, they're coming about it not just for their own greed, but as well, Elohim told, as you said, well, Elohim said inside the covenant that the entire Israel will be inside this, will be going there. Or Elohim told Moshe that the entirety of Israel will be coming to this promised land. And you see now as well, in the previous chapters, Elohim told Abraham that his seed would be it would be as great as the sands of the sea. And I started to realize I don't think there was ever normalcy inside a family's name being dead. I don't think inside Israel it ever dropped out, like a family ever died out. It wasn't normal. It seems like this was a rare occurrence that there was a small portion left of a family. It seems like Israel was always being expanded upon, and it was always growing versus degenerating. And that's just a small like insight that I saw whilst you were speaking, because this is the first time that they're coming to, or anyone's coming to Moshe about this. And it doesn't seem like they're coming about it because it happened to 3 other people, but it seems like this is the first time this occurred. And so, yeah, it seems like Israel is a very fruitful nation.
Israel is a very fruitful nation. The promise that you quoted from Bereshit concerning our father Abraham, it's still very prevalent today. And that's why he would weep and weep bitterly if he knew that so many of his daughters were killing their children in the womb or killing their children after they were born through abortion, because Yah has blessed the womb and is said to be fruitful and multiply. And what part of the blessings that are on the covenant that are upon us is for a fruitful womb and an increase. But of course, modern times have told us that too much children means too much expense. So you need to cut it down to 1 or 2. And that's why a lot of nations are cutting down. Even Israel have taken on that practice and are killing their children in order to maintain a lifestyle, not knowing that as many children as you have, Yahweh will make the provision for you if you have the faith that both you and Zakan was talking about. And these women had the faith. They didn't bring in the right rulings of another nation or something they learned in Mitzrayim or something they picked up in the desert. What they appealed to was the Torah, the righteousness of the Torah, which Yahweh, of course, would act on because he will make his word come to pass. So, yeah, that's wonderful and wonderful what Zakan AriYah brought out. And in the short thing, it touched on a lot, like you said, even though a short chapter. When we look now at the situation with Moshe and Yehoshua, we see now that Yahweh is telling Moshe why he's not entering. And the primary reason you're not entering, the reason why you're not entering is this. You didn't do what I said when I told you to do it. Simple. Okay? And there's no other reason except that Yah is given. He didn't say because of this and that. He said this is the reason. So he did not go in, but Yahweh still blessed him because Moshe was so close. He said, I will allow you to see it. But before you do, and I like how you picked up how about the relationship between Moshe and Yehoshua. Moshe was not afraid to relinquish. And at this point that Yah is talking to him, he's already accepted the fact he's not going in. So he says, please. And this shows the love that Moshe had for the people. Allow somebody else to take care of your flock, to take them out, to bring them in. Do not leave them to the wolves and the lions that are around. Now, in the flock, when the flock is disobedient, Yahweh takes them out himself. But Moshe says, Father, even though you take out the disobedient ones, there's still a whole lot of obedient ones in here that needs to be guided through this wilderness and into the land. And Yehoshua was actually in training while serving Moshe. Do you realize that most of the intimate experiences that Moshe had, it would have been Yehoshua who witnessed it? When Moshe was in the mount, it was Yehoshua who went up there and waited at a specific place until he came down. Remember, and Shemot, I think it was chapter 32, Moshe is coming down the mount. He's met by Yehoshua, and they hear the noise, the partying going on in the camp. Yehoshua would have actually taken and We're gonna get you on right now. I just want to finish up what it started right here, Sakan, in that Moshe would have taken that. Yeah, that was Yah's choice. He was being groomed for that position. And one of the things that that Moshe did that is still practiced today among us is the passing on of responsibility, the process of Shemash, that's the laying on of hands. That is the symbolic gesture of transferring. Also, it is the means that Yah has used to pass his spirit, from one individual to another. Be careful with that, because demons use that same touch process to jump bodies. But nevertheless, Yah, Moshe passed on some of the power, and he also, at this time, Yah instructed him, give Yehoshua some of your esteem, and this esteem is your responsibilities, so that while you are alive and serving, let him take some of your responsibilities to get the respect. So they see what's on you is on him, so that the transition is smooth. So wonderful. Praise Yahweh. Zakan Eliyahu.
Sakan?
Yes, praise Yah. I just want to put in one more thought before I leave quickly. And it relates to Moshe and this judgment that Yahweh had passed on him. You would note that there were times when individuals would have done wrong, they repented, and everything was made right. In this case, we would simply say, okay, Moshe did wrong, and here Yahweh is reminding him that he did wrong, so he's not going in. The question is, did Moshe ever approach him and ask for that kind of forgiveness? And the answer is yes. But you see, we would not see it in this chapter. It comes up in Devarim, in Deuteronomy. So we are going to see it later. But I wanted to push it in at this time to make this point, because while Moshe would have really wanted to go in, not just to see, but to go in, and he did ask Yahweh's forgiveness, and he did ask to go in. But Yahweh's word is his word. And when he made that pronouncement, he wrote that down in his book, that book that has all our deeds, all our actions, everything that he's recording about us. He keeps what he wants to keep, and he will erase what he wants to erase. But the thing I want us to remember from it is that as human beings, we are all failing people. And we make mistakes from time to time. But when we deliberately rebel, because this was not just a mistake that Moshe made, he made a decision to deliberately rebel. And it was that brought about his demise. And that serves to remind me and to remind us that even the most faithful, the closest servants of Yahweh to himself cannot escape the results of our failure in this life.
That's right.
And I say that because sometimes I think about things that are happening in my own life. And, you know, I have questioned Yahweh about them many times. For example, even this chronic pain that I'm bearing now over 30 years, I'm not saying that I was the cause of that particular accident. But the point is, things happen to us. And sometimes we go and we ask for him to remove them, just like Shaul, who had that infirmity, and he begged him a number of times to remove it. But it was not Yahweh's will to remove it. He said, my strength is made perfect in your weakness. For my grace, he says, or my favor is sufficient for you. And so for Moshe, his favor was, I'm going to allow you to see it, but I'm also going to gather you. So Moshe was not lost. Praise Yah. He was not lost. At least he still was able to achieve the ultimate promise, which is to be able to live with Yahweh forever.
Praise Yah.
did receive that ultimate promise. So even though we lose some things down here, maybe because of our own failures, it behoves us to remain true, to remain faithful, to remain obedient to his will and his way. Praise Yah. I just love that thought. I hope you all appreciate it just as much as I'm appreciating it. And I'm sorry that I have to leave and not get the rest of this study, but you understand. I did explain to Cohen why I would have had to leave early. So praise Yah and happy Shabbat, and do enjoy the rest of the Shabbat experience, all of you. May Yahweh bless us all as we continue to pitch our tents together with him in the Shabbat hours. Praise Yah.
Praise Yah. And before you
Praise
leave, Zakat Eliyahu,
Yeah.
I just want to just let you know that the last words you said in the comments, very, very important, spoken as a leader in the house of Israel, something that should be listened to. And we do appreciate the Ruach HaKodesh speaking to you on that matter, because we do not want to give up in any situation. And Yahweh deals with things in ways to make good corrections in every situation, so that we do not lose out on the ultimate objective, and that is eternal life. We don't want to lose out on it.
Yes.
So I want to say thank you for that encouragement, and be safe on your way.
Yes, thank you very much. And to let you know, I think Theon might be out of surgery by now. He would have had the surgery a little bit earlier. So I'm hoping to see him a little bit later.
Yes,
I'll be picking up Destiny and her brother in a few minutes.
yes. And we definitely will be keeping everybody in prayer.
Praise you. Thanks.
Praise you. Yes.
Praise Yahweh and Shabbat Shalom, Dr. Gade.
Yes,
I'd like to also just add on that too, what was just said. I think, just like how Dr. Cardi said, or Elder Cardi said, that whenever someone is doing something on the earth, there's bound to be failure. And you can step up, especially after failing and after falling. You just have to acknowledge what you've done and make things right. But at the same time, I just want to also say there's a very, very hard path, but still achievable, of not failure. And I only say this because I know personally the story of Enoch. The only man who's been translated into the heavens, and who no one had heard about his end, but from the last bit of the story, it could be assumed to say that he is still with Elohim at this moment. And keep your ambitions high. If you fail, realize you have failed. But if you haven't, don't think that you will fail. Don't think that there may be a day that you will fail. Continue to be confident, continue to be motivated, and continue to be inspired to do things that even only one person has ever done before. And I say that to go along with Dr. Cardi, with Sakan, not to go against him. So let both of those motivate you and inspire you to do above and beyond.
Praise Yah. And that was good encouragement, Shemash. You, like a young Yahushua, was taking your place and doing the same. And even in the Beit Midrash, all of the young men, all young Yahushua was being empowered to do the same and even greater. And I'll tell you this about failure. Failure is not bad. Many times we fail to learn lessons. And when we learn our lessons through the failure, we become so much stronger and so much more better equipped to erase failure from occurring again. Rather than going on and be thinking that we're doing all in our strength and we're doing this. No. Sometimes Yahweh stops us in order to help us get back on the right path. Because remember, in all things, it is never by might, never by power, but by his Ruach that all things are accomplished. And this is what we have to remember. And one of the things that Yahweh spoke to Yahushua over and over, and when you read the book of Yahushua, especially in chapter 1, verses 5 through 9, Yahweh is assuring him, do not be afraid, do not be discouraged. No matter how things look, no matter what you see before you, be strong, be courageous, rakata avats, because he is with us no matter what, straight through. And we be faithful to him. So praise Yahweh.
Praise Yahweh. Praise Yahweh for that. And does anyone have any further comments, questions on chapter 27? I know it's a very short chapter, so it's very like you probably have to read it over and over to really see all the different contents. But one thing, lastly, I would want to say before ending, if no one has any further comments and questions, when we spoke about feminism inside the world now, and we spoke about fruitfulness inside Israel, people didn't want to, what is it called? They weren't sacrificing their children, and they weren't giving up these things that we see happening so readily inside this modern age. At the same time, I think the entire sense and understanding of sex is completely different. And that has to be understood on both the male side and the female side. You're not supposed to be having sex just for pleasure. And you're not supposed to be doing that, especially if you're not married to someone. And so you have a lot of people inside situations these days that base sex off everything inside their lives. And they can't have a relationship without basing sex on that. And inside that same sense, fruitfulness will never happen if you're just basing that off of something like that. You have to assure that this is being looked at spiritually because Elohim gave it as a gift. And so if you're just looking at it as something to have fun, and then something that you have an option for if things don't turn out as you would like, that right there is initially the wrong thought about the entire process. And it has to be relooked at. I just want to say that males and female, we both have to, men and women, we both have to look at that, and we have to realize and help ourselves understand it so we don't get caught up inside this trend of just thinking that this is another activity, and with this activity we have new options, we have new. No, it's a blessing given by Elohim. And as you respect it, you're able to really receive the gifts that it comes with.
Praise Yahweh for that, spoken like an old man. Praise Yahweh, but I said that to say that you spoke truth. So praise Yahweh for that. Praise Yahweh for that. Oh, there was one thing, and Second Eliyahu is gone, but he said something about Moshe. Even though Moshe disobeyed, and I see Moshe's disobedience at the rock as allowing emotion to overtake. Whenever you allow your emotion to overtake you, any decision you make will not be your decision. When you are emotional, that's when the demons actually tell you to do things and you do it. For instance, anger is an emotion. And people get lost in their anger and turn to rage, they commit murder. And a lot of them don't realize what they did until after they did it. Did I do that? Moshe angry at the people. I've had enough of them. It's emotion. And that lesson to us is that emotion caused him not to lead Israel into the promised land as he was supposed to. So even though Yahweh did it in a way that could still preserve him and preserve justice and righteousness, because whatever Yahweh says must be done the way he says it. And if he has determined not to forgive you, then he won't, because he didn't forgive the messengers who sinned. They were sentenced right there and then, and they have no forgiveness. But we do. So what we do is continue to use teshuvah, our repentance and our turning, while we travel on this road, because none of us are perfect. But the word that is before us leads us in the way of perfection and righteousness. Praise Yahweh for that.
Praise Yahweh. Praise Yahweh. Wow, that is truly insightful. Is there any further comments or questions on this chapter? If there's not, I'd like to wrap this up with a word of prayer. But before that, I'd also just like to say something to what Cohen just said. Impulses come. And I think impulses come every day, every moment, every second. Like an impulse is coming right now, but it depends on the clarity of your state of mind. And emotions is just like wine. You can become intoxicated in if you overindulge. And so, just like Cohen said, I know to repeat, but regulate yourself so that you don't find yourself ever drunk and intoxicated on something that you may not even know about. Take a breath, take a breather, find some way and find some routine that's helpful for you, and figure out how to calm yourself down and look at things inside a manner that you can think and decide at that moment, and your thoughts are with you versus just, I want to do this, the impulse is coming, and if that impulse is a sad impulse or angry impulse or an overless joy impulse, you have to know where the line is, where you have to regulate yourself, and whether it's something that you're thinking clearly on, or if it's just the impulse has taken over and you're not even fully aware that what you're about to do is something completely improper. So I was just thinking that addition to that is just realize that impulses come every day and every moment. Try to keep your mind as clear as possible so that you make proper decisions.
Praise Him.
Praise Yahweh. With that, though, I'd like to wrap this Torah study up with a word of prayer. O dear Heavenly Father Yahweh, I thank you for your word that you have continuously led us towards. I thank you for the spirit that you've placed on the members of your community, O Father, the members of your people. I thank you and I pray that the spirit that continuously allows us to be in your presence consistently manifests itself for us, around us, within us, and into our surroundings. O Father, that the people we speak to, they feel your spirit, and that as we feel the spirit that contradicts yours, you protect us, O Father. You protect us and you continuously provide the proper sustenance we need to stay within your court, within your Hakal, O Father. Please continue to allow our spirits to grow, to be nourished, and to have an abundant progress, potential to progress, O Father, that our spirits be structured and rooted in the Torah, your word, and allow us not to make decisions coming from impulse and emotions. O Father, teach us how to come to you properly so that we receive help, that we receive support, that we receive proper results to questions and confusions we may have. And grow us up, O Father. Grow us up to be proper leaders, believers, followers for your word, O Father. For it is only you that can form a perfect being. So continue to form us inside perfection, knowing that the day that you resurrect everybody, the day that everyone rises, in the twinkling of an eye, we'll all be changed. But until then, O Father, refine us and change us, O Father. Build us with your word as we have today, and continue to create moments for us to study and to apply your word upon us now and forevermore. I pray that you bless the speaker that's about to come, that you bless your servant, that you continuously anoint him, and that you would place your words in his mouth so that we are to listen and that we are to take things that are helpful to us. Oh, Father, guide us and continue to let your presence be abundant inside this service, oh Father. I thank you for your love, and I praise your name. Torah Yahweh, Torah Yahweh, Torah Yahweh.
Oh,
In
yeah,
Yeshua's name I pray. In Yeshua's name I pray. Amen.
praise you.
Praise Yahweh.